a written production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our recreation center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes.
Oopsies. Sorry. Welcome to our board meeting today. I'm Dale Lair, President of the 2022 Board of Directors. This regular meeting of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Board of Directors is audio and video recorded by RCSC management and staff. Please be advised there will be no recording of this meeting by any individual. If you wouldn't mind, please take out your cell phones at this time, put them on the silent mode or turn them off. Thank you very much. I would like to now introduce our timekeeper, Tracy Busseberger. Thank you very much. She's a volunteer, doing a great job. Our parliamentarian, Ray Chornecki.
Thank you.
Also a volunteer, doing a great job. Our management staff, Bill Cook, General Manager. Mike Woodprude, Director of Buildings and Infrastructure. Brian Duthu, Director of Golf and Grounds. Jolynn Higgins is not here today. Marcia Johnson, our Corporate Executive Coordinator.
Good morning.
And not sure if Teresa Serino is here. Events and oh yes, she is way up there in the back, in the booth. And I also would like to introduce Polly Corsino. She's the Sun City Visitor Center and Marketing Manager. And Angie Nelson is our Controller. Thank you. I would like to introduce any board candidates who are here today, starting with Darla Akins. Please stay standing, please. Jim Ruff, way in the back. There's Jim. Steve Collins, up in the front here. Thank you. John Fast couldn't be here today, but John Fast is also running. Jerry Walczak. I know I saw him here earlier. Oh, there he is, way over there. Very good, thank you. Jean Totten. And John Salzberg. Is John here today? Okay. Thank you very much. Let's give him a round of applause. This is a hard job. Thank you for running. Secretary Lineski, would you please take a roll call of the voting members?
Certainly. President Lair.
Here.
Vice President Agi.
Here.
Treasurer Akins.
Here.
Secretary Lineski, I'm here. Director Collins.
Here.
Director Fimmel.
Here.
Director McAdam.
Good.
Director Nowakowski.
Here.
Director Wilson.
Here.
Everyone's here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Secretary Lineski, there's a motion for special rules of procedure.
Yes. I move our adoption of special rules of procedure for discussion and voting on the bylaw revision. Rule 1, any motion to amend longer than 10 words must be submitted in writing and must include the article number, section number, and letter and number to help all voting members locate the area of concern. 2, no voting member shall speak more than once to the same question and shall not speak longer than 2 minutes. 3, there will be a maximum time of 5 minutes for each affirmative and negative side for a total of 5 minutes per issue. 4, the chair and co-chair of the bylaws committee may address all questions without time requirements. 5, all amendments and discussion shall be germane to the issue at hand and not dilatory. 6, it reads the 7 in the book, but it's 6. When a discussion is complete, a motion to accept and reject the entire document will be taken.
Is there a second? Second by Director Fimmel. Secretary Lanevsky, as maker of the motion, do you wish to speak first in favor of its adoption?
I'm in favor of it, but I explained to the people last time why I was for that, and I will leave it at that, except if I need to rebut somebody.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any other discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Director Nowakowski.
Question on why this is here. Why are we looking at a set of rules to change the bylaws when we seem to have gone through that once? Are we here to do this again? I have no problem doing it again, but is there a reason why it's here?
I can answer that.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I think this is just kind of a cover ourselves in case we get into a long protracted, I don't know how many, I didn't know how many motions to amend were going to come forward last time. I don't know how many motions to amend are going to come forward this time. So just so that we have a template in place and, you know, our rules in place for that, because it's a long document. Hopefully we will not need it. Any other discussion? Okay. The motion before you is to adopt special rules of procedure for discussion and adoption of the revised bylaws. Secretary Lanevsky, will you please take the roll call vote?
Director Wilson.
Yes.
Director Collins.
Yes.
Director Fimmel. Yes. Director McAdam.
Yes.
Treasurer Akins.
Yes.
Vice President Agi.
Yes.
Director Nowakowski.
No.
I vote yes. I'm Secretary Lanevsky. President Lair.
Yes.
8-1.
With 8 in favor and 1 opposed, the motion is adopted. Next order of business is approval of the minutes from the October 27th, 2022 meeting. They were posted for the director's review. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Director Nowakowski.
Page 1, Rule 4. The original motion that was presented, it read, it says for a total of 5 parentheses 5 minutes. The original one that was in our agenda last month was, it said 5 parentheses 10 minutes. So,
What happened, if I can correct it?
okay.
The wording was 5, the number in parentheses was 10. So they were both on there.
Yes,
So it
they were.
was changed to reflect the 5.
Oh, okay. Good.
Are there any other corrections, additions? Okay. Hearing none, the minutes stand. There's no objection. All right, Treasurer's report. I would now like to ask if there's any questions on the Treasurer's report. Okay. There being no questions or additions, the Treasurer's report is filed for audit. Management report. Are there any questions or comments on the management report?
Yeah.
Oh,
Big hand this time.
that's good. Director McAdam.
Yes, so I have a question for management about the water removal of the lake at Viewpoint Lake. So I'm just curious, because I've spoken to some people who normally golf at Lakes West who are unable to do that. Apparently the course is closed right now because it's being irrigated multiple times a day, not because it requires the irrigation, but in order to try to empty the lake. And I seem to recall having heard at one point that we didn't want to just dump the water into the sewer. So I'm just asking for an understanding of why it is that we're putting the water instead on a golf course and thus closing and having to close it.
Madam President, Director McAdam, sure, we can explain that. So
The original plan was to, we wanted to be as eco-friendly as possible and not dump water into the sewage system. And so we wanted to utilize that water to the greatest extent we could to irrigate our golf courses. So unfortunately, with all of the rain that we've had and all of the excess water that's been going into and drained into that lake, it's significantly slowed down that drainage. So under normal circumstances, had we not had that much rain, the normal irrigation plan for Lakes West would have taken out all of that water, and we would have been, already excavating some of the sediment at the bottom. But since that didn't happen, we had to accelerate the irrigation at Lakes West. So we did have a time where we were overseeding, which was a great time. That's when more water is needed. At that time, the pump system had some issues there as well, so it slowed down during irrigation. Now we have the pump going great. We're pulling out about 1 million gallons a day. And so since we've had all these delays, we've actually had to extend the closure of the golf course so that we could get that going, get the excavation going. Now, we did look at actually dumping water into the sewage system as a backup plan, and actually we were told that that was not an option for us. So our only option right now is to use it for irrigation.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Yes, Madam.
Director Nowakowski, and then Director Fimo.
Finance report, page 1.
Well, we've already moved on. We're on the management report. Oh, are you talking about the management report or the financial?
Management report.
Okay.
Under finance report,
Okay.
the last sentence, it says, year-to-date net operating expense, net operating excess, including projects, is 1.353 million, favorable to budget. So that means that we are running 1.3 million ahead of our budget.
It says excluding.
Excluding projects.
Madam President, Director Nowakowski, yes. That's primarily, a lot of that's driven by golf revenue, and then we're also favorable on the expense side as well. So,
Thank you.
Okay. Director Fimo.
Thank you. You said there was excess water, which was the reason why you had to have alternate plans. How much excess water was there? And as a result of not being able to use that course, what has happened to the people who use that course?
Madam President, Director Fimmel, so we don't have an exact amount of water that pours into it during rains. I know at one point we had a measurement of 2 inches of rain in one storm, and I know there's a calculation that you can utilize. I believe the expectation was 6 inches per week. Mr. Weepert, if you could nod, that was about right. So at one point, when we had the 2 inches of rain come in, I believe we actually gained an inch during that week, or it broke even. So I can't convert that to actual gallons of water. I can convert it to time, so we're probably about 30 days behind right now. So with respect to what's going on with the closure, the extended closure, we did have one tournament that was scheduled to be played, I believe it was it this weekend? And they agreed to actually move it to the Riverview Golf Course without any issue. So that was the only major event that was going on at the golf course. And it's just like every other year when we close for overseed or for closure, if we have closures for any type of repairs, what we've actually found is that we don't lose actual rounds played because we have such excess capacity that people that normally would play at that course find time at other courses to play.
So at the Viewpoint Lake, they said that the drainage was about 1 million gallons a day. Is that correct?
Right now, that's exactly what we're doing, is about 800,000 to 1 million a day.
So if it's taking 20 days, you're talking a number in the area of 20 million gallons
That's
of
correct.
water.
At the last session that we had, the open question session with the homeowners, the estimate was 20 million gallons. It actually probably was closer to 30 million at that time. And so at this point, and as some people have seen, we actually had a backhoe in the lake. So it's at a point where it's below 3 feet, because that's the level at which we could put an excavator in there. And so we're channeling water over to the Cameo side so that we can continue to pull water out for irrigation.
Thank you.
Director
So,
McAdam?
Yeah, just two further questions. I know you can't see into the future as far as the weather is concerned, but my first question would be, when do you anticipate that the Lake's West course will be reopened for regular play? But secondly, I just want to come back to the question about, could you please explain a little bit more in detail who told you or what the regulations are that don't allow you to put water into the sewer system?
So, Director McAdams, so the first question is, right now, tentatively, we've scheduled closure till December 4th. I'm hoping that it's sooner than that, but right now, December 4th is what we think. If we have no more rain, we think that that's should be enough time. And then secondarily, it was actually ADWR, I believe. Was it ADWR that told us, right? ADWR told us. Corey at PAI actually asked about doing a dump into the sewer system, and ADWR said that that's not an option for us.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments on the management report? Hearing none, the management report will be accepted. Thank you, General Manager Cook, for the management report. Committee reports, we have none. Unfinished business, we have a motion to reconsider. Vice President Agee.
1 second.
Okay. One. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So do you want, you typically?
You have a motion to rescind. So.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to rescind rescind the motion to reconsider, right?
No.
You're changing this on me in flight here, so.
But you're good. You
Okay.
can do this. It's a motion to rescind. And here we start with this. Rescind the. And then start
Okay,
reading.
I make a motion to rescind the recommendation of the Finance and Budget Committee to approve the 2023 budget, except for the recommendation to transfer $4.5 million from carry forward to the capital reserve. The 2023 budget includes the increase of the annual property assessment to $525.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second it.
Second by Secretary Linefsky. Okay,
Point of order, Madam President.
Director McAdam.
I'm unclear about what your motion actually is. Are you voting to rescind the motion to reconsider, is the way I understood it, so that you're no longer moving forward with your motion to reconsider? Is that correct?
No.
The motion was made or changed before he read it to a motion to rescind. Is that your question?
So we're just changing the terminology here. Instead of calling it a motion to reconsider, you're calling it a motion to rescind.
Correct.
But the intention still is to undo the vote from the October 27th meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
Robert's rules clearly state
Is there,
Let him ask.
okay, go ahead.
that if you can reconsider, it has to be made at that meeting or the same day or the next day. And that's if the meeting is continued. Our meeting was not continued into 2 days, so therefore a reconsider is not according to Hoyle with Robert's rules.
Director Collins?
I want to hear an explanation from the parliamentarian why this is being done.
But Director Collins, it's not a motion to reconsider. It's been changed to a motion to rescind.
I'm sorry. Madam Chair? Can we get an explanation? Because I have no idea what that
Do we
means.
take time in a meeting to do that? Yeah, you have to.
Okay.
But wait. Did you get a second?
Yes, by Secretary Lanevsky.
Did you restate the motion?
No.
Then it's not on the floor and nobody can talk.
Okay, sorry.
So restate it.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded by Secretary Lanevsky to rescind the recommendation of the Finance and Budget Committee to approve the 2023 budget except for recommendations to transfer $4.5 million from carry forward to the capital reserve. The 2023 budget includes an increase in the annual property assessment to $525. Motion seconded again by Secretary Lanevsky. Now we are open for discussion. Discussion. Director McAdam.
I'm still completely unclear about what this actually accomplishes. So apparently, it looks like you've realized that a motion to reconsider violates Robert's Rules of Order, and instead you're moving towards a motion to rescind. Is that an appropriate understanding?
Yeah, do you want me to talk?
I'm going to turn the mic over to the parliamentarian so she can answer the questions. Thank you.
The short, is that on?
Yeah.
The short answer is yes. The long answer is yes. That's correct. A motion to rescind is in order. A motion to reconsider, there are exceptions so that you can do a reconsideration after the session has ended, but it's so complicated, and it would take a great deal of time, in my opinion, to explain, and it accomplishes nothing, where the motion to rescind is exactly the same thing. It's just a matter of when it's brought up.
So does the motion to rescind also hinge on the understanding of what a session is?
No.
It doesn't. So
According to my reading of it, no.
So this sounds like a tacit admission that the motion to reconsider, which we've been told is completely in order, and we went through this in March, and the same thing was actually an incorrect understanding. Is that correct?
No, it is not. The facts of the March meeting are not on the table now. They do not apply to this motion. This is a completely different set of circumstances.
Okay, so when we ask to rescind, essentially what we're saying is that we're going to consider the vote to be null and void and for there to be nothing on, is that correct? To rescind, you're actually asking us to rescind the vote from the October 27th meeting.
Clearly, I'm not asking you to do anything.
I understand. So
This is a
Mr.
motion-
Agee is
this is
asking,
a-
and I just want clarification.
question, let her
about-
finish.
This is a motion to undo, wipe away the motion that was adopted, or the adoption of the motion at the last meeting.
Well, actually, is it the motion or is it the vote? Are we undoing the vote or are we undoing the motion that was voted down?
It sounds like both like a rescission and an
Okay,
amendment.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Just a second. First of all, just for decorum's sake, if you want to talk, please wait till you're recognized by the chair so we can have a little bit of order and decorum.
Let
Let her finish the yeah, go ahead.
It's difficult to get into the semantics of it, but you're right, you have a right to, and let's do it. If this motion is to undo the vote, so that I believe the vote, and here we're going to get confused again, I believe the vote was, the motion to adopt that budget failed, is that correct?
Correct.
Yes, correct.
Now, that motion to adopt, the failure is gone. That motion is back to adopt the budget. If this passes, he wants to rescind the fact that it was crushed, that it died, and bring it back up for a vote again.
Madam President?
That's what a reconsider would have done had it been in the same session as well. This isn't doing anything different, it's just doing it now.
Director Fimmel.
But it sounds like both a rescission and an amendment. Is it a simple rescission, and then we will vote again with the potential for amending it once it's up for a revote?
Once it was what?
She's saying this is just a motion to rescind, and then we have to bring up the motion.
Right.
Again.
Does that make sense?
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Just a second, Director Collins.
Madam Chairman, I move that we table this motion until the next meeting when we all can get a complete understanding of what's going on here.
Well,
Director Collins.
Director Collins, if I may, and this is a technicality, it's not a motion to table. It would be a motion to postpone to a time certain.
Okay, and make a
And that's what
motion
you mean. Well, all right.
Postpone until the next meeting when we have had time to understand what is going on here.
I'm not, well,
Just hold on first, just a second, okay?
why don't you, could we just take a recess?
We're gonna take a brief
Just a brief,
recess.
so we can talk about this.
Thank you.
The vote for the motion.
Okay, we're back on. There's been a motion to postpone to a time certain, which is the next meeting of the board on December 5th at 9 a.m. The motion was seconded by,
No, not December 5th.
that's right, December 15th, thank you. December 15th at 9 a.m. It was seconded by Director McAdam. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Collins made it, so he can.
As maker of the motion, Mr. Collins?
I still didn't get an explanation of this, so that's why I'm asking for the time to go over everything, to make sure. Because, this motion affects our membership, so therefore, that's why you're raising their dues, and I want to make sure before anything goes forward here.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Okay.
Okay.
Secretary Lanevsky.
Yeah, I'm opposed to the motion, but I have some questions for the general manager. And then I'll speak. General Manager Cook, I need to have some information. Let's assume that there is no budget on January 1st. What happens?
Madam President, Director Lanevsky, I believe this is unprecedented. I don't know in our history that we've not had a budget passed, but having no budget, we would, in my opinion, would have to close down. If I have no authority to spend?
Just a second.
If I have no authority to spend, what are my wages? What are my?
Just a second. I have a comment to make.
Director Lanevsky, please, this is a business meeting of the Board of Directors. You are welcome to be here. You are welcome to attend and make comments for motions, but catcalling and moaning and groaning and disrupting you are out of order. I don't want to have to clear the room. So please, try to be respectful. Proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. That's basically what I was going to say. Okay, so this has not happened before?
Director Lanevsky, as far as I know, and anybody else who is on my staff, I do not believe that this has ever taken place where a budget was not approved before the current fiscal year.
Can I finish?
Director, you have the floor.
Okay, so I just want to make sure, before I vote on the postponement, I want to make sure that I'm correct in my thought process. When people say that that's confused and they need to understand what's going on, last month we had a debate and you guys presented the budget. Is that correct?
We presented the budget to the Finance and Budget Committee, yes.
Okay, and the budget was brought up here. And was that a thorough discussion? Do you remember?
It was a 3-hour discussion.
Okay. And if this motion passes to reconsider or rescind it and allow another vote, you don't have a whole lot to add, do you, to what was said last month?
I do not. I'm kind of in between the proverbial rock and hard place where the Finance and Budget Committee unanimously approved the budget that we presented, and the board is saying that they disagree. So I don't know if what I can personally do. I think it's got to be done between the board and the committee.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Director Collins, you've already talked. Director McAdam.
So I have 2 points here. One is that the posted motion at the October 27th meeting did not include any information about a fee increase, which meant that members came to that meeting not knowing that that was going to be involved and had no opportunity to sign up to speak against that. If we proceed today with this motion, it means the same thing, that today you also have no opportunity to speak to that because it's a different motion than the one that was posted. My second point is simply that there is a fairly easy solution to the problem of the budget not passing. That part of the budget that was objectionable to the board at the October 27th meeting was the $29 fee assessment increase proposed for 2023. If we don't move forward with that, it means approximately a $750,000 less income, and that is something that is eminently able to be covered through other means, not to oversee the fact that we have a $10.3 million carry forward at the moment. We would be able to absorb that cost easily, and the motion, the budget would be easily approved by the board, minus the $29 fee assessment increase. So I don't think it's necessarily a difficult problem to solve.
Madam President.
Just a minute. I would like to comment to Director McAdams. First of all, it was a committee recommendation. The committee, the Finance and Budget Committee, passed this motion. It did not state, as stated originally in type, the $29, but there was complaints. The parliamentarian ruled on that and gave you advice on that, saying you did not need to add that because it's implicit in the fact that it's the budget. But we thought, to be fair and forthright with the members, we would put that in there. So I just want to clear that up. Okay? You've already spoke.
I still have a comment for what was said.
Director Collins.
You're talking about January. I'm talking.
Director Collins, you are out of order. Okay? Can you just wait?
I'm going to challenge the ruling of the chair.
There's no ruling. I haven't made.
I'm out of order. I'm challenging that because I can't do a rebuttal against what he said. He's asking about postponing this till January, not December.
Please.
I think the confusion is you can speak and you'll be called on, but I think.
I've tried twice now with her.
But you already.
Stop.
Okay.
This is the problem. Forgive me. I'm not speaking as a parliamentarian. Just hold on. Everybody be patient because it's a slow process. And Director Collins, if you ask to be recognized and a chair refuses, point of order is what you say. And then the chair has to ask you, what is your point? Say it. And then if she rules against you, and I say any chair, if the chair rules against you, what you say is appeal the order of the chair. And I apologize because I think you were trying to say that at one time and I just didn't understand what you're trying to say. Appeal the ruling of the chair. But please don't talk over each other. That's just too hard for anybody to understand. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Now.
So what I'm saying, Director Collins, is that typically, if you've spoken once, I have to give an opportunity for other members of the board to speak, and then you can have a chance. All right?
Yes,
Thank you. Is there any other comments? Does anybody else wish to speak? Hearing none. Director Collins.
Mr. General Manager Cook, this was not to postpone until January. It was postponed till December 15th. If on December 15th we voted, is there an issue with the budget and come January 1st if we pass it in December 15th?
So, Madam President, Director Collins, so there's a lot of ifs there. So if it's approved and the second reading is waived, then we have no issues. The question that Director Ledneski asked is if we did not have a budget approved, and that's the question I answered.
So would you be willing to do a budget without the increase fees to our residents?
Director Collins, I've submitted a budget that was approved by the Budget and Finance Committee.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else? Secretary Lineski.
I just have a brief comment. The current budget, when you take into account the increased capital expenditures and stuff, we're bringing in about $25 million. And when you take everything into account, not counting the PIF, we're going to be spending about $27 million, using about $2 million already of the carry forward. In other words, this would raise it from a $2 million deficit to a $2.75 million deficit. I just want to be really clear on that. That's about 30% of the carry forward in inflationary times. And what we want to do, as we consider the postponement, I think what needs to be considered is, are we enjoying the amenities that we have, and do we want to run the risk with 8% inflation for the year of having not enough money in the next couple years in order to do what we need to do? $29, which everybody is making an issue of, if the last raise was 6 years ago, is about 50 cents a month raise, it is about a 4% to 5% increase and 8% times if we just count this year. I just want everybody to keep that in mind.
Director McAdam.
So Director Lineski, I'm not sure about that 50 cents a month comes to $6 a year, not to $29 a year.
No, it's talking about over 60 months. In other words, you have 60 months, you're raising it about $30. That, since the last increase, that's about 50 cents a month.
Okay. I would also simply like to point out that right now the current budget assumes that at the end of this year there will be $1.4 million in surplus money available, and we are currently running $1.3 million favorable to that, which means that at this very moment we are looking at something on the order of $2.5 to $2.9 million, depending on what our expenses are between now and the end of the year, that is going to be added to the carry forward. At the very minimum, I think we can be quite sure that General Manager Cook will make sure that a minimum of $1.4 million is returned to the carry forward budget. So my whole point in this has simply been that we have never been in such a favorable cash position as we are in right now. And I don't believe that the argument has been made coherently and cogently and in a way that the members understand about why we need to have an additional $29 this year.
Any other comments, questions, discussion? Okay, there's a motion to postpone to a time certain, which is the next meeting of the board, December 15th at 9 a.m. Motion was seconded by Director McAdam, made by Director Collins. Secretary Lineski, will you please take the roll call vote?
Treasurer Akins.
Yes.
Director Collins.
Yes.
Director Fimmel.
Yes.
Director McAdam.
Yes.
Director Nowakowski.
Yes.
Director Wilson.
No.
Vice President Agee.
Yes.
And I vote no. President Lair.
Yes.
It's 7-2 in favor of the postponement.
With 7 votes for and 2 against, the motion carries to postpone till the December 15th meeting. Thank you. Okay. Let me get back on track here. Okay. Second reading of Secretary Lineski on behalf of the Bylaws Committee.
On behalf of the Bylaws Ad Hoc Committee, I move to reinstate all policies as written and currently located in the bylaws to board policies listed below. BP1, conflict of interest, BP2, senior management, BP3, corporate records, BP6, corporate privacy policy, BP8, privilege card holders, BP9, guests and hosts punch cards, BP16, budget and financial report, BP20, Sun City Foundation, BP21, membership, documentation requirements, BP24, preservation and improvement fee and fund, BP27, committees, BP31, risk management, BP33, investments.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, please read the names of the members who signed up to speak to this motion only.
What?
Second.
Madam President, there are no one that signed up to speak on this particular motion.
Okay, thank you. The motion before you is the second reading of a motion to reinstate policies as written and currently located in the bylaws to board policies. Secretary Lineski, as maker of the motion, do you wish to speak first?
Yeah, very briefly. I explained this last time, but really what it is if the bylaws pass and we don't have these policies in effect, since these policies have been taken out verbatim from the bylaws, they would cease to exist and there would be nothing regarding these issues. So this is simply a placeholder to make sure that we have policies in effect as they exist today in the bylaws as policies. So if the bylaws pass, these areas are covered.
Okay, is there discussion? Okay, hearing none, it's moved on behalf of the Bylaws Ad Hoc Committee to reinstate policies as written and currently located in the bylaws to board policies. Secretary Lineski, will you please take the roll call vote?
Director Wilson.
Yes.
Director Collins.
Yes.
Director Fimmel.
Yes.
Director McAdam.
Yes.
Treasurer Akins.
Yes.
Vice President Agi.
Yes.
Director Nowakowski.
Yes.
I vote yes. President Lair.
Yes.
A 9-0 in the affirmative.
Okay, with 9 in favor, none opposed, the motion passes its final reading. Motion, the next item of business is a motion to adopt the proposed bylaws revision document. Secretary Lineski, will you please read your motion?
Yes. I move for the adoption of the bylaw revision document.
Okay. Ms. Johnson, please read the names of members who signed up to speak on this motion only.
When I read your name, please come up to the podium and state your name and member number, and most importantly, whether you are speaking for or against the motion. Each speaker will have 3 minutes for comments as indicated by the light on the stage. The first person would be Patrick Gannon.
Patrick Gannon, member number 150056. I am speaking in opposition to the motion to pass the revised bylaws. I made 2 motions at the annual membership meeting in December of 2021. One was to give a petition control number to any member who chose to circulate a petition. The second motion I made was to allow petitions regarding RCSC matters to be circulated within or at RCSC facilities while not disturbing or interfering with RCSC member activities. I called that a common sense motion, that a petitioner be allowed to collect signatures where members gather. Petition is a fundamental right of the members. The potential for a petition for recall of a board member is one of the things that a person takes on when they put themselves forward as a candidate for the board of directors. At last month's board meeting, the section of the bylaws that allowed members to circulate a petition at RCSC facilities was stripped out of the revised bylaws. That gutted the petition option. It effectively closed the one avenue that we, the members, had available to us. We all know it is likely impossible to collect 3,277 signatures, the required 10% of our members, without doing it at the rec centers. I was a member of the Ad Hoc Bylaws Committee. There needs to be checks and balances in governance. There has to be a way for members to bring an issue directly to the general membership with a reasonable possibility of success. By removing the right to circulate a petition at RCSC facilities, this board has cut out the single most important step toward shared self-governance. Without this in the bylaws, I urge the board to vote no on the entire revised bylaws.
Wow.
One final note. As President Lair often says, if you bring an issue forward, please bring a solution as well. And this goes directly to the issue. One of the criticisms leveled at the Ad Hoc Bylaws Committee was that we on the committee did not have the necessary knowledge for the job of revising the bylaws. a solution for this large and complex an organization. I would like to see a motion to hire attorneys who specialize in bylaws to work directly with the members and board members to develop appropriate bylaws for RCSC. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jean Totten.
Jean Totten, number 148753.
Are you speaking for or against?
I'm speaking against.
Against. Thank you.
Excuse me. I'm extremely disappointed that the director in charge of the ad hoc committee felt that he had to vote with the majority members on a certain section in order to save the entire work that they had done, as he had been cautioned or warned that if he voted with the minority, the majority would vote against him and all the work would be for naught. And I'm also extremely disappointed today to see that you, the majority members of the board, feel that the 3.5-hour meeting that we took place on October 27th, the reading, the revising, the rewriting of the ad hoc committee recommendations for the bylaws is considered the first reading of the motion. It was never put together in any logical form for the members to see and read, nor was it for you to see and read. It was a bunch of minutes of writing, not put together in a cohesive manner. Today should be the first reading of the bylaws. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Dave Whalen.
Morning.
Good morning.
Dave Whelan, 17077. I'm speaking on behalf of the passing of the bylaws. I was a member of the bylaw committee. I admit it, I enjoyed working with my fellow members and with Kat and Alan. But we have been unfairly criticized for our work, and some of it is quite shocking. A person currently running for the board called us communist in regard to incident reports and member discipline, that we were Putin-like, and that the members should be put in steel cages while the hearing is progressing. This is ridiculous. And there were other more vile comments directed towards other members of the committee. If this is the person you want representing you, vote for him. Second, a person on the board last month quoted me out of context. I don't mind being quoted, but I want to be quoted correctly and completely. The purpose of taking it out of context was to make me look bad and make the board seem uncaring and not serious. Third, I had received an email from a person who said I should resign because I don't own a $20 book, Robert Rules of Order. From the time I was born until I was appointed to this committee, I never needed one. But fortunately, the library had one. And he went as far as to say I should resign, and my guess was that he was probably hoping to be appointed in my place. The attack started at the very beginning, when we closed the meetings because some members who attended did not follow the rules, which was what's said in the room stays in the room. They couldn't wait to post it. Finally, I've been called many things. I believe that these bylaws should be passed. It represents a tremendous effort, both by the chair and co-chair and the members of the committee. Alan has said we've spent over 1,100 hours on it. I would say it's closer to 12 or 1,300. You don't pass them, hey, guess what? The old bylaws come back into effect, and the board policies that were separated out today disappear, and you're back to the giant crab sandwich, as I called it. I called it something else. So that's my position, and please vote in favor of these. It's the right thing to do. Any changes that can be made next year.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's cool, Tracy.
Ricky Tolan.
Ricky Tolan, 128792. Good morning. You may recognize me as the person.
Sir, are you speaking for or against the motion?
I'm speaking to ask a question.
This is for comments on the motion, for or against?
Well, I will speak for it if my question is answered. If it's not answered, I'll speak not for it.
What's the question?
You may recognize me as the person who submitted the last 5 recall petition requests, which were all denied. Your serial denials of a petition number to all of the petitions that I submitted were not based on discrimination against any protected class, but rather on the objections communicated to you by the corporate legal counsel. As you can see, I have 5 letters from your counsel denying my requests. My question is, what will happen if I resubmit one of the exact same recall petitions that I have previously submitted? Will I not receive the same intimidating letter from the council asking me to deal directly with them? Presumably, if that council is competent, it will be the same as the last 5 times. 5 letters from the council recommending against the issue of a petition number. But now you are saying that it will be nonetheless, I will be issued a petition number. Is that correct?
Director? Yes, please.
The answer to that question is yes, but I think I hear and appreciate your question. So let me go back one step further and speak to the fact that the board of directors would no longer be involved in that process whatsoever. So the next question that will fall is, where does this occur? This occurs within management. So the question I think you're really asking is, will management take steps to preclude you from having a control number? It's my understanding that as long as it does not involve a basis based on protected class, you will be issued a control number. That is how they were written, and that is how they should be executed.
Could I ask General Manager Cook to respond as well?
He doesn't have anything to do with this, but are you for or against the motion to approve the revised documents for the bylaws? That's what we're... What's your point?
So you just made the statement that Mr. Cook has nothing to do with this, and yet Director Fimmel just said that exactly management is the place where a denial could originate for some reason other than discrimination. So my question I think is very valid for Mr. Tolan to ask Mr. Cook whether he would act contrary to the legal counsel that he's received in the past and still issue this time a petition number over the advice of his legal counsel to say no to that. So I do think that it's pertinent to allow Mr. Cook to speak to this.
Okay, so Karen, what we're discussing today is a motion to approve or deny the revised bylaws documents. Management has not been involved in this in any way, shape, or form. We have to approve this or deny it, and it goes back to the way it was. So he doesn't even have, go ahead.
So, Madam President, that's precisely the point. If we are expected to make a vote on accepting or rejecting this bylaws revision, this question is eminently pertinent to our decision about whether we want to accept or reject it.
Can you say that?
Yes, please.
Well,
Say it. It's been coming.
in response to the question, I would advise the chair that anything that the manager says today could not be enforced necessarily, because there's always the possibility, there's always the possibility that circumstances may be different in some way. And therefore, it would be out of order to ask someone to give that type of answer. What the question is, straightforward, is, do you want this in the bylaws? Do you want these bylaws, which would include the new language? I think that Mr. Totten is asking about, that the person gets the number. Am I saying it right?
Yeah.
Is given the number. To ask employees today what they would do is not relevant to the bylaws. That's what I would advise.
Okay.
It's not a rule.
Director Lanowski?
Mr. Tolan and Director McAdam, I want to point out something. If these are defeated, Mr. Tolan, I suspect the legal opinions that would be given if we maintain the same attorney would be the same as in the past. What this is attempting to do is allow a more generous ability to do recalls. A question to Mr. Cook, who, much as I like him, is the general manager doesn't mean that he will be general manager in 10 years or 7 years or 3 years or 8 years. But the document is not personal to Mr. Cook. It's the way this operation goes. So his opinion at this point is irrelevant. He doesn't have it before him. He's in the general manager position now. His opinion most likely is irrelevant, basically, because what we're doing is passing a document that he's going to have to act on. It's not his opinion that matters. It's the document that matters. Without the change, Mr. Tolan, things remain the same. It goes to the board. The board decides whether or not to pass it. As long as I'm secretary, I'm going to send it to the attorney. You've got the letters there.
I do.
And to say that the advice would be the same if this passes is erroneous, because it's a different document. There are different rules. We're trying to liberalize them. That was the goal.
Okay, I'm against. Thank you.
Or against. Okay.
Bill Pearson.
That totally goes against everything he wants, but. Just keep kicking me under the table.
Bill Pearson, 133438. I won't reference any of the things I've been called over the years. Nobody cares.
Are you speaking for or against?
I'm speaking against.
Against. Thank you, sir.
I am too disappointed that this is considered the second reading. As I stated earlier, I won't waste a lot of time on it. What I want to talk about is history. A year ago, nearly a year ago, in December of last year, we put the largest crowd ever since 1960 in a room for a membership meeting. And for those of you that don't know, we used to have 4 a year. The largest crowd ever for any kind of an RCSC board meeting. Oh, by the way, there was 796 butts in chairs, and your position is 800 in the fixed bylaws. Still haven't achieved that. The good news is we reached it via the quorum, and of course we changed how we collect those as well. To help people understand, those 1,400 people spoke in favor of 5 items. 5 items. They were literally softballs compared to what existed in our bylaws in 2005. We simply offered up suggestions to make it more amenable to both the board and the membership. We didn't hardcore it like it was in 2005. We offered you softballs and you refused to hit any of them. Let me repeat that. You refused to hit any of them. Not one. I know somebody's going to say, yeah, but we went from 1,250 to 800. Yeah, and if we get 800 people in the room and we make motions and you reject them, then we can stand in front of Safeway and, as Patrick pointed out, try and collect 3,200, 500, 3,200 and whatever number of signatures, 10%, to have another meeting where we have to put another 800 people in the room. So you did nothing. And I want to make this point to the question. I wrote contract language for a living. Alan, you as a attorney and administrative law judge, language, words matter. In respect to the question from Ricky Tollins, you put specific language in that said that the only way that he would get a petition through was if he cited policy violation, bylaw changes, and one other criteria. None of them would have met that criteria under the 5 letters he submitted. Oh, and by the way, the first one Bill Cook rejected. The next 4 came from the attorney. Again, that's just the realities of what happened. I don't have any malice towards anybody other than if we're going to fix bylaws and make them work for the membership, then you got to do it. You can't say you did it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stella Vaness. Bill?
Oh, yes, please.
Madam President, thank you. I just would like to correct the fact that management was not involved with respect to petitions. The decision is a board decision, so I want to correct that statement that Mr. Pearson just made, so thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any other people who wish
Stella
to speak?
Vaness.
Oh, Stella. Sounded like Saul.
Sorry, I had a piece of candy in my mouth.
Stella Vanessa, 116314. I'm speaking in favor of the bylaws. As a member of the bylaws committee, the ad hoc bylaws committee, much negotiation and compromise by all the members of the committee was made after many long hours of work and discussion and negotiation. Many long hours. The majority of the issues that have been presented were already discussed ad nauseum by the committee, and a consensus was reached prior to the recommendations being made to the board. While the committee members have been bombarded with outside opinions of what others believe the bylaws should read, and some members of the committee have in fact changed their minds regarding them, there continues to stand, I continue to stand on the bylaws. Please remember, the bylaws have actually been reviewed by 4 individuals with legal backgrounds, 3 attorneys and 2 judges. It wasn't just arbitrarily agreed to by the committee members. I appreciate the consideration to approve the bylaws at this time and hope that they can be passed as they have been presented. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam President, no one else has signed up to speak on this motion.
Okay.
Wait a minute, there's a hand. There's
All
a
right, they
hand.
have to sign up.
You were just on for the second reading of the motion to reconsider. Pardon me? Didn't I have bylaws on? No. Just motion to reconsider.
Okay.
If you want to see it, you can.
Madam President?
Secretary Lineski, as maker of this motion.
Microphone.
Oops, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Madam President, before you make that, I have a question.
Okay.
It was brought up here today that this should be the first reading because none of the residents got to speak to the motion on the last month. That was when we made it. None of them had the right to speak to it. So this should be the first reading, and I agree with that according to our bylaws.
Okay, I'm going to appeal to the parliamentarian because I don't necessarily agree, but
Nothing was asked. It was a statement.
it was a statement.
Thank you.
Thank you. I guess that's what I say. Thank you. Okay. Director, I'm sorry, I'm just like brain dead here. Director Wilson.
I have a motion that I'd like to amend,
All right.
if this is the time. It's to Article 5, Section 4.
Wait, I gotta get there.
Article 5, Section 4.
Article 5, Section 4. Okay.
What page?
Yeah.
What page?
Page, is it page?
Okay, I'm adding
Page 10.
to the beginning of the first paragraph, the meetings for the board are divided into 2 sessions per year. The first session goes from January until the end of June. The second session goes from September until the end of December.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
No, but I have an amendment to that.
No, we got
No, I'll second it.
second by Darla.
There is a second?
Yes. Darla Akins seconded the motion. Okay. Director,
You have to restate it.
okay, I'm sorry, I have to restate it. There's been a motion to amend Article 5, Section 4, adding this to the beginning of the first paragraph. The meetings for the board are divided into 2 sessions per year. The first session goes from January until the end of June. The second session goes from September until the end of December. Motion was seconded by Darla Akins. Director Wilson, as maker of the motion, do you wish to speak first in
Yes,
favor of adoption?
there seems to be some confusion as to what is a session, and that has been clear in our discussions. It's really hard to call one board meeting a whole session when we carry over and we have to have 2 readings on motions, because that means we have not finished the business. So if we have to do 2 readings, that means 2 meetings, we go on.
Okay, thank you. Director
I
Lanevsky.
have a question for the parliamentarian. The months of June, July, and August are not in there. Let's assume we have to have a special meeting in June.
July and August aren't in there.
July gets on? month of
Just
June is
July and August.
not-
2 months.
Is not in there. If we needed to have a motion or something done in June, do we need to add the month of June to one of the sessions? or
June
can
is
we-
already in there.
Read it again. Maybe I misunderstood.
Let the secretary read it back.
He's the secretary.
The meetings for the board are divided into 2 sessions per year. The first session goes from January until the end of June. The second session goes from September until the end of December.
Secretary Lanevsky.
So I have a question. It doesn't mention the months of July and August. Do we have to meet in a special meeting for whatever reason? Do we have to add those to the sessions one way or the other, or is this acceptable, basically?
You take the
Well, generally, I don't know that we would have a quorum in July and August.
I understand that.
But if there would be a need to call a special meeting for some reason or another, we could attempt to do it. But if there's no, if we don't have the members here,
No.
and does it have to be included in this?
That's what I'm asking. In other words,
excuse me, how else would
So what you're saying is if you choose to amend it to say the first session is from January to the end of July, and the second session is from August till the end of December. That would cover the entire year, although we do not have scheduled meetings in July and August. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
That would be, that could be an amendment to the motion.
I'm asking the parliamentarian.
Oh.
Would that be necessary to add those words, or can we have them? In other words, I don't have a problem with the motion. I just need to make sure that we can call a special meeting in an unlikely event that we need to during July and August.
But a special meeting would not be a regular meeting at the board.
It just says meetings of the board. That means you couldn't have an executive
My, just out of personal experience, and then as reading the bylaws and the Robert's rules, it would make sense to include them so we don't have this question in June or July.
Okay, Secretary Lenevsky.
I would move to amend the motion to add July and August to the second half, so the second session would be July and August, beginning in July.
And wait, just, I got to make sure I got this right. And the second session meeting?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Can you amend the motion?
Want me to amend it?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's going to do it.
Oh, she doesn't have to do it.
And actually, I would see, okay, yeah. So the second session goes from July until the end of December?
That's fine.
Adding that, okay.
And the first session ends at the end of
June.
Sure.
It's at the end of June. No, I've already changed that.
Does the second agree?
Okay. Darla, do you still agree with this?
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, and you've already spoken to the motion. Is there any further discussion? Director McAdam, I love that you got your hand up there.
So I'm not pretending to be an expert on this, but I believe that Robert's Rules of Order 38.1 states that you cannot vote on the exact same motion in the same session, which would mean that if we had 2 readings, and we would not be allowed to vote a second time unless the first meeting were in the first session, the first vote was in the first session, and the second reading was in the second session. So I don't believe that this actually works for us. If we consider the session to be anything other than an individual meeting, we're not allowed to vote a second time on the same motion in the same session. Perhaps the parliamentarian can clarify that for us.
Well, first of all, I would like to say that similarly to the end of the year, we try not to have motions cross over from one year to the next. I would think it would be the same thing for sessions. So motions have to be made. You can, move to forgo the second reading if you want, but otherwise, if it doesn't pass twice, it's going to die, and it has to be re-brought up in the second session.
That's what she's saying.
Yeah.
Do you need to clarify?
I think that you misunderstand me, Dale, because my point is that in the same session, you're not allowed to vote on the same motion more than once.
Correct.
So if somebody brings forward a motion in April and it's the first reading, we're not allowed to vote on it again in May if we agree to this new definition of a session.
Okay.
Robert's Rules prevents us from being able to do that. And I'm asking for clarification from the parliamentarian about that.
Just so I understand, because I did misunderstand you. So what you're saying is that this would, in essence, eliminate a second reading?
The ability to
it
have
would
a
eliminate the second
reading.
vote.
The ability to have a second reading.
I think what the director is saying is the board would not be able to have a second reading until the next session started, second half of the year. That's what she's asking about.
But is that what you're asking about?
Well, no, my point.
No, don't.
So
I don't understand either. Okay.
Mrs. Chernenke is correct in that my statement was the only way we would be, if we adopt this new definition of a session, the only way that we would be able to have a second reading would be if the first reading was in one session and the second reading was in a different session. We don't want to do that.
Is that a problem?
And if we adopt this, we are eliminating the option that we have of voting on the same motion within the same session, which eliminates the possibility of a second reading and a second vote. And I believe that Mrs. Chernenke has agreed that that would be the case.
No, I'm not agreeing. I'm agreeing that that's what you meant.
I see. Okay. So I am asking for clarification on that. I believe that that is true, that Robert's Rules of Order prevents us from being able to vote on the same motion in the same session.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I said I'm not sure to a question that was asked. What I would advise, and I won't be here, so good luck with what I would advise. The second reading, in my opinion, within Roberts, is not considered like a separate motion after action has been taken on a first motion. So I think a second reading would be in order in the same session, but that's the opinion that you asked for clarification. I can only give you what I would say.
Okay, so and that's kind of...
Wait a minute. So if that's not what you want, and you want to be sure that that's not what you want, then you vote accordingly. Does that make sense?
And I think that's kind of what I was saying before, that if you know the session ends, and we have no scheduled meetings, you know that if you bring up a motion at the last meeting, unless you move to forego the second reading, it's going to die.
That's not the issue, Dale. That's not my question. So I'm very concerned about the fact that when we do the dual readings, that motion, the exact same motion, appears on two successive agendas. It's the same motion at the first reading as it is at the second reading. And Robert's Rules of Order, I do not believe, allows you to vote on the same motion twice in the same session. If we restrict a session to an individual meeting, then we are clearly able to do that. If we say that the April meeting is a session and it ends when that meeting is adjourned, then we can go ahead and in May vote on the same motion because it is a different session. So my argument is simply that if my understanding is correct, and I don't pretend to have a lot of expertise in this area, but if my understanding is correct, the motion that is on the table would be very dangerous to us because it would actually eliminate the possibility of us having a second reading and a second vote to pass the motion.
No. It's in our bylaws. What's the norm? Your bylaws. And how people and don't bringing up the same issue every meeting. Every meeting. Mm-hmm. You make that ruling. You see.
That's an issue.
We're just eliminating the second reading.
That's what I'm supposed to do. Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I'm still unclear.
Whoa. Okay, Director Collins.
I have to.
Well, I'm not getting a clear explanation of this, so I would like to postpone this issue until the first meeting of December when we can get proper reading.
What you're at, let me be clear, you're moving to postpone Director Wilson's motion to amend indefinitely?
Until December 15th meeting. Until we find out if this is going to stop us from having two votes, a first reading and a second reading, since it would be in the same session.
Let me be sure, though. I want to understand exactly what you're wanting. You're not asking, or you don't want to move to postpone the vote on the bylaws? You want
If
to...
that's what we have to do.
No, wait.
okay.
Just don't say if that's what we have to do. It's what do you want? Is that what you want?
I want to postpone this amendment
The amendment.
until December
Which is on?
15th.
Then, yeah, I guess you can't go forward.
So in essence, you're saying that the whole reconsideration of the
Right.
revision is postponed?
Today it would have to be, because you can't adopt the bylaws.
Then I vote to postpone everything until December 15th, till we get clarification.
Objection. Well, wait, let me add that this isn't a black and white situation necessarily, and as Director McAdam has raised a possibility, if you get a different lawyer, say, and this is hypothetical, you may get a different opinion. If you have a different chair, you may have a different ruling. If you have different members of the board sitting up here, you may have a different for or against attitude. So what I want to caution, it's just a caution, is I don't think you can get a clarification that you can take to the bank, say in January. But that's
And then
just
it doesn't carry forward.
That's just a caution. So
I don't see where 30 or 2 weeks is going to make all the difference in the world, so we should try to get a clarification, I believe.
he's talking to the chair, not
Yes.
to me.
Well, here's the question I have. We have a motion on the floor that was seconded, and we have an amendment to that motion that's on the floor that was also seconded. And now you're bringing up another, can you do that? You can do that. So I need a motion from you.
President Blair, I will just move to withdraw that until we get clarification.
Okay, rather than, thank you.
No, we're not done.
No.
When someone has made a motion and there is debate, it's gone to the extent that there has been debate on the motion, it can't just be withdrawn.
It can't just be withdrawn.
It's easy. Just listen, let's do it
Okay,
right.
we're going to do it
The
right.
maker of the motion simply requests permission to withdraw her motion, which she has done, and then the board votes. Are you going to let her withdraw that motion?
Okay.
Or are you going to insist that it stay?
So her motion to withdraw needs to be
It was a
seconded?
request.
Or-
No.
No,
She
it
can
does not.
just request it, and then you take a vote on the request.
Okay.
Can you do that?
Secretary Lineski, can you please take the vote to withdraw?
Okay. To be clear, so that everybody on the board is clear, what this does is it allows Director Wilson's motion to be withdrawn, and it'll be like it never occurred.
Correct.
Okay. Vice President Agi.
Yes.
Treasurer Akins.
Yes.
Director Collins.
Yes.
Director Fimmel.
Yes.
Director McAdam.
Yes.
Director Nowakowski.
Yes.
Director Wilson.
Yes.
I vote yes. President Lair.
Yes.
It's 9-0 in the affirmative.
Okay, so now we're back to the motion, second reading motion.
Okay, so now we're back. I got to find my place, sorry. Okay, so we are back to the, it's been moved on behalf of the Bylaws Ad Hoc Committee to adopt the bylaws revision document. There isn't any further discussion. Secretary, you want to make an amendment to the bylaws revisions? Do you have,
What is it?
Section 5, or Article 5, Section H. It's petition, we struck out petitions may be
can I ask you
circulated
what page you're on, sir?
on page 12.
Page 12, okay.
What section?
And repeat it again, you're on section 5.
Article H at the end. I'm sorry, Article 8, Article 9.
Wait,
Article 9,
are you
right
sure?
at the beginning.
It's on page 12.
No, it's page 12 is Article 4.
Well, I got a different one here than you then. Right there. Yeah.
Don't have any clue.
Are you in the article? Okay, it's on the articles. No.
It's just, the petitions may be circulated on RCSC facilities.
21.
You have to have the article.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Let me find it here. I changed pages when I was looking up the other one.
Madam Chair,
Just a minute, please.
I believe he's on page 22.
Article 9, Section 3.
Yeah, Article 9, Section 3.
Page 22.
Page
Yep.
22. Thank you. We're all on the same page. Start over again. What do you want?
Article 9, Section 3, B. Want to reinstate the petitions may be circulated on RCSC facilities while not disrupting or interfering with RCSC member activities or blocking ingress or egress in any facility.
Okay, I just need a little clarification. Hold on. Okay, that was removed at the last meeting.
You put the rules in.
My question's on our week.
You need to say that you. No, no.
Well, we have that authority because you put the
Well,
rules
I
in.
know.
Also,
Any-
for parliamentarian rule.
Getting a ruling from the parliamentarian. Thank you.
Technically, that's already been decided, and it would have to be, if, we have to look at it one of two ways. My reading is that this is not a new motion. It is a new motion, but it's not coming for the first time before this board. And for that reason, you would need to make a motion that we started with this morning, like to rescind that vote, up part of the reading. It could be decided that this is brand new, and you can amend it any old way you want.
But right now, it's out of order.
You have to make, that's my advice.
Okay.
He has a
The
question.
problem is, since the members didn't get to speak on this, it shouldn't have been a first reading. So this would make it the first reading, and it would make it a new motion.
And it is not, no one has changed the fact that
It wasn't a reading, so it wasn't a motion.
No, but that's not been ruled on, that's not been voted on. It's been presented as, this is the second reading, and nothing official has changed that.
But I immediately, I said I'm protesting that it's a second reading. They didn't get a chance to speak, and our bylaws say they do.
I understand the argument. When someone protests, I don't like what she said, or I don't like what the chair said. If you want a different ruling, or if you
Okay.
want to change.
I'll make a different motion,
Well, I don't know.
Right now,
a different amendment.
We're back
to the same thing. It's
Now, you either have a motion to rescind or a motion to amend. They're talking, so let's wait. Maybe Kat can understand it. You two were speaking. Did you get it answered?
Well, not really. You're saying I can't do it. You're saying I can't do the amendment, even though it wasn't a first reading.
the amendment that you gave is out of order, and the parliamentarian has given you some suggestions on how to fix that. So now it's up to you.
And you said I can't make another motion.
No, that's not what she said.
But it doesn't do any good to keep everybody guessing at who said what.
Yeah, let's continue.
Director Collins.
She's pulling it back.
Director Collins, I didn't hear you. Did you? I'm sorry.
Let's continue with this motion.
I think it's important to understand the point. Do you feel you understand and you just want to go on?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
I want to do this, right here.
Okay.
I want B to be in there.
The signatures.
I want signatures on property.
Okay, now wait a minute. Now we're back to, so apparently you didn't understand, because you can't amend it to just put that in there, because it's already been voted on. It's the second reading. So what the parliamentarian told you is that you could rescind the vote. If you're going to follow Robert's Rules of Order, you can't amend it to put something
Okay,
in
then
that
I'll
was just-
rescind the vote.
Okay, now he wants to rescind the vote.
Okay.
I just want to go on.
All right.
Hold on.
Thank you. It would be a motion to rescind, and we started that today, so I think
Yes.
we know how to do that.
Motion to rescind. So,
He wants
so
motion
can you
to
speak?
rescind.
Can you, you're maker of the motion. Please make the motion.
I make a motion to rescind that petitions may not be circulated on all rec center facilities. And you want my reason that I'm,
No?
Motion to rescind the vote, striking
striking circulations within or at all RCSC facilities while not disrupting or interfering with RCSC member activities or blocking ingress or egress at any facility.
So
Is
what
that
he's saying-
Article 9?
Article
Section
9, Section 3, subsection B.
All right.
He wants to rescind that. That's what he should be writing.
That's a motion to rescind the vote, striking Article 9, Section 3B.
To rescind, okay.
Right?
Yeah, I'm making sure I got it right.
Is that all? It's an article. Do you have it? Okay.
Okay. Okay, so there's a motion to rescind the vote on, to Article 9, Section 3, subsection B of the revised bylaws document. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Director Nowakowski. Now, Director Collins, as maker of the motion, you have the first opportunity to speak.
Yes. The reason why I'm against having this in there is because, like it was said out here, the people here can't get the signatures needed without being on property. Within the last 2 weeks, we have had people getting signatures for people to get absentee ballots, and they couldn't get it going door to door, and they went to the clubs. And they were getting these in the clubs, which is the same thing, because they realized that they can't get it without being on the property. So simple absentee ballots, are being collected, and we don't want people to be able to do anything else. And that part is wrong, and I think the people of this community deserve the right to go on the property to gather signatures for proxies, for petitions, as long as they pertain to RCSC functions. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, there is a, sorry. Okay, there is a motion to rescind the vote of Article 9, Section 3, subsection B. It's been seconded. No further discussion. Secretary Lineski, will you please? Oh, I have to read the motion. I'm sorry.
Well, ask.
Go ahead, point of order.
So I'm not sure what the ruling is with rescinding, but my understanding is that a motion to reconsider requires that motion to originate with the prevailing side of a vote. Is that not true with a rescind order? So it's okay for it to, okay, thank you.
Okay, no further discussion, no further, more discussion. Secretary Linevsky.
I'm confused. Director Collins, I guess he voted with the minority.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't
Okay,
matter.
that's fine.
On a rescind.
Okay.
Are we all good?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's been a motion to rescind the vote to Article 9, Section 3, subsection B, to reinstate the line, petitions may be circulated within or at RCSC facilities while not disrupting or interfering with RCSC member activities or blocking ingress or egress at any facilities. Secretary Lineski, will you please take the vote?
Director Collins.
Yes.
Vice President Agi.
No.
Treasurer Akins.
Yes. You're going to reinstate it?
Director Fimmel.
Yes.
Director McAdam.
Yes.
Director Nowakowski.
Yes.
Director Wilson.
No.
I vote no. President Blair.
No.
Okay, it's 5-4 for Director Collins's motion to rescind.
So
No, I think it takes, because there was no prior notice that this was going to be discussed, I think it requires a 2/3 vote, and 2/3 of 9 is 6.
Okay, so the motion fails. Did you hear that?
I think.
Okay, the ruling from the parliamentarian is because this was not posted in advance, it needs a 2/3 majority, which is 6 votes. It received 5 votes, so the motion fails.
But just give me,
Let's move on, please. Okay. So back to the original motion to accept or reject, accept the bylaws revision document is moved on behalf of the bylaws ad hoc committee to adopt the bylaws revision document. It was seconded by, it's been so long ago, I forgot. Who seconded the motion? I think Alan did.
I don't remember. I'm not sure there was a need for a second. Give me 1 second.
Oh, there is no need. There's no, that's why. Okay. Thank you. Okay, Secretary Lineski. This is the vote for the bylaws revision document, to accept the bylaws revision document as amended. Secretary Lineski, please take the roll call vote.
Madam President, there's discussion.
There is still, I'm sorry.
Right?
I thought we had discussion, but go ahead.
Well, no, in the process of the discussion, I believe that there was an amendment that was made, and we've dealt with the fact that that failed, but we're back to the discussion process. So I have 2 things, and I think I'm going to have to probably do them in 2 separate sessions because I may exceed my limit. The first thing is that I thought this was actually going to be brought forward during the member comments, but I have a letter that I would like to read on behalf of Janet Curry, who was a member of the Ad hoc Bylaws Committee, and I'm just going to read what she wrote.
Okay. Point of order. You need to ask the chair, you need to request an opportunity to speak from a document or a letter.
Madam President, may I have permission to speak from a letter that was received by a member who was unable to be in attendance today?
How long is this?
It's less than 3 minutes.
No. Okay, do you have another comment you'd like to make?
Yes, I do. So I think I'm, in essence, only repeating some of the things that members have said who have come to the podium to speak. But I actually went and asked the 4 members who brought forward the 5 different motions at the December 13th meeting last year to what degree they were satisfied with the process and the results of the Ad hoc Bylaws Committee in responding to their requests. So we've heard from Director Linevsky that he thinks that these bylaws are so valuable to the community that he was actually willing to vote against his own conscience and deny members the right to collect signatures on property in order to achieve the larger goal of having these bylaws accepted. As I have asked the 4 people who brought those 5 motions forward, it's been a question of, do you feel that they were satisfactorily addressed? Not just simply addressed, they were addressed, but were they satisfactorily addressed? And on a scale of 1 to 10, to what degree do you believe that they achieved the goals that you had when you brought those motions forward? So far, I have received, on a scale of 1 to 10, a sum total of 0 points. So I would simply like to make the statement that the very people who brought those motions do not believe that their requests have been adequately addressed by this bylaws committee is a point against adopting them. I would disagree vehemently with the position that these bylaws represent an improvement to the status of the membership. I don't believe that they do. I actually believe that the result of these bylaws is that we're going to be in a worse position, that members will be in a worse position as a result of this bylaws. And so I would urge all of my fellow board members to vote against adoption.
Okay. Director Akins, please.
I really wanted to see the ad hoc committee address the 5 issues that came up at the meeting, as opposed to redoing the whole document, because I think by them redoing the whole document, the 5 issues that came up kind of got lost in all the verbiage. And I think that's why they don't feel like they were satisfactorily addressed. So it would have been, I think, a lot clearer and easier if they had just addressed those 5 issues, because the other issues we could have always addressed as the year went on.
Okay, is there, Karen, you've already spoke. Secretary Lanevsky.
I have to respond. I wasn't planning to talk, but I have to respond. I am tired of people ascribing to me my thoughts and speculating on what they are. I made a decision to vote with the 4 on the petition. To claim that I voted against my conscience is a personal attack. I voted with my conscience, weighing everything else. You may disagree with my judgment. You may think I'm an idiot. You may do whatever you want, but I request that you take back the comment that I voted against my conscience. Thank you.
Okay, is there any more comments on the, this isn't going to just be another rebuttal back and forth, is it?
Well, Mr. Lanevsky did ask me to take back my comments, so it almost seems like he's asking me to respond. And I would say that I'm not imputing any motives to you. I'm just repeating what you actually have explained to people, that you thought that this was a compromise that needed to be made. And so that's all that I did. But the second point that I would like to make simply is that I believe it would be okay for me to simply make a statement about what Janet Curry had written without reading it. Would that be correct? If I don't read the document, it's okay for me to describe what she wrote and had hoped to have communicated at this meeting?
Madam President.
First of all, let me just say, we put the special procedures in place. You've had your 2 minutes. You took the full 2 minutes. We're on the same topic. So actually, this discussion shouldn't have even happened, but that's okay. So I would say we need to move on. That's why we put those rules in place, to, not to get drawn down into all this minutia. All right.
Madam Chair?
Okay. Director Nowakowski, you are now recognized by the chair.
When we started this process today, we had a set of rules by which we were supposed to discuss the bylaws. And the time allowed it to discuss them on different areas. And so far, every one of the points that have been brought up have been, I guess, turned down in one form or another. Now, since this is a second read, I don't understand, first of all, why we're discussing things, but we set up the process to do it, which tells me this is not a second read, but it's a first read, because we're still changing the document and the process until we, as a board, approve the document to start with. I don't see how we can turn around and say, oh, this is a second read and it's being adopted. That's my opinion.
I'm going to let you speak. Secretary Lanevsky, you've already spoken.
Madam Chair, as chairman of the committee,
Oh, that's right. You
I
have special
just have
privileges.
a very brief comment.
Okay.
I spoke to the member of the ad hoc committee yesterday, Janet Curry, and I just want it on the record that she opposes the adoption of this, the bylaws
The bylaws revision document.
as they exist.
Okay. All right. If there are any individuals of this board who have not spoken to the motion, now is your last chance. All right. So what we're trying to do here is we are trying to move, there's been a motion to approve the bylaws ad hoc committee's bylaw revision document as it has been amended. Secretary Lanevsky, will you please take the roll call vote?
Yes, Director Wilson,
Yes.
Director Collins,
No.
Director Fimmel,
Yes.
Director McAdam,
No.
Treasurer Akins,
No.
Vice President Agi,
No.
Director Nowakowski.
No.
I vote yes. President Blair.
Yes.
There were 4 in the affirmative, 5 against.
It fails.
No.
4 in favor, 5 opposed. The motion,
And what about a two-thirds vote to amend bylaws?
that's right. Oh, and it has to be a 2/3 vote. You're right. I'm so confused. Okay, again, we have the same problem that we had earlier. Because it's a revision of a bylaw, it takes 2/3 votes, which means it needs 6 to pass.
Madam President?
It doesn't have 6 pass.
Right, so it fails.
That's what I said.
I know.
I'm sorry.
I apologize.
Okay, I thought I had stated that correctly.
What I said no to was it fails. Never mind, go on.
It failed.
I'm sorry.
It does fail.
So the bio,
Madam President, you referred in your distillation to as revised,
As amended.
but nothing was revised today, was it?
no, but it's the bylaws revisions
But
as,
there have been a confusion as to someone on the board thinking that it was revised, when in fact, nothing was revised today. We were simply approving a document that was previously approved.
It says bylaws revision.
Yes, I understand, ma'am.
but I added that as amended.
That's
And
what
you're
I
saying
said, and
since the
nothing
amendment
was
was
amended. That's my point. Nothing was amended today. One of the directors may have thought something was amended when it was not, and it may have caused them to change their vote. That was my point.
How do I handle that?
It was
Revote?
defeated.
Okay, you know what?
Defeated.
Let's just revote, since, just a second. I'm going to, it is moved on behalf of the Bylaws Committee to adopt the bylaws revision. I'm not even done talking. You can't oppose me. I haven't said anything yet. It is moved on behalf of the Bylaws Ad Hoc Committee to adopt the bylaws revision document. That was the motion I added as amended, which was incorrect. So I'm going back. I've been corrected. We have to vote on it as it's stated. I made a mistake. Now you can speak.
Point of order.
Point of order.
We've already voted. Only the winning side can bring a reconsideration.
It's not a reconsideration.
Well, you want to revote. You can't.
I don't know what to do.
We voted on it.
That's my concern, that there'll be a request at the next meeting for rescission or reconsideration because of the parliamentary error that occurred.
We're going to take a 5-minute recess.
Everybody needs to take a while.
You didn't hear any of that, right?
Correct. That's it, Mayor. You're right. I agree with you.
Okay, we're reconvening the meeting. We have, because of an error that I said, I did not read the motion correctly, we are going to just take, no discussion, we're just going to take the vote again. for the record so that we have it accurate. Okay, it has been moved on behalf of the Bylaws Ad Hoc Committee to adopt the bylaws revision document. Secretary Lanevsky.
Director Fimmel.
Yes.
Director McAdam.
No.
Director Nowakowski.
No.
Director Wilson.
Yes.
Vice President Agi.
Yes.
Treasurer Akins.
No.
Director Collins.
No.
I vote yes. President Lear.
Yes.
The vote is 5-4 in the affirmative.
Okay, the vote is 5-4. It does not pass. It fails its final reading because we did not receive a 2/3 vote. Okay, moving on, new business. Ms. Johnson, please read the names of the card holders who signed up to speak to the new business items only.
Stella Van Ness. I'm not going to read the spiel in front of it. I don't know.
It's dead. No, it's not.
Oh, there. Oh, you're on.
You're on.
I'll play a little tune here. Sorry. Stella Van Ness, 116314. I just want to speak in favor of this motion to change this section of board policy for the Sun City Foundation, because we want to ensure that people who are in good standing actually receive the funds from the Sun City Foundation, and not individuals who have chosen not to pay their rec fees and then all of a sudden decide, well, I want the funds, so I'm going to apply. We want to ensure that they are in good standing for a decent period of time. So I really encourage you to vote in favor of this motion. Thank you very much, and everyone have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
No one else has signed up to speak on any of the new business motions.
Okay, the first item of business is a motion by Director Wilson to amend the Sun City Foundation's Board Policy 1, Item 1A. Director Wilson.
Yes, to qualify for foundation assistance, the applicant at least 67 years of age and a property owner in Sun City for a minimum 5 years and resides in the home. The applicant must also be a member in good standing for the 3 years prior to applying for assistance unless there are exigent circumstances.
Okay, is there a second?
I second it.
Second by Secretary Lanevsky. Director Wilson, as maker of the motion, do you wish to speak first in favor of its adoption?
Yes. The idea behind this motion is if we have someone who gets funding from the Sun City Foundation and then due to incident reports is suspended, they could again apply for funds and that would not preclude them. So this motion actually precludes that and makes sure if you're getting funds that you are following the rules.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Secretary Collins. Director Collins.
Yes, I have a couple issues with this. If, in fact, a person does get a write-up and they are suspended, whatever, they do what they're told they had to do, they have fulfilled their obligation. Second, if you start telling the committee that John Doe got suspended, you're breaking the right of privacy that all of our documentation is supposed to be held under. So I feel that that's not right, that we're going to talk about people who've gotten suspended. Thank you.
Director Wilson, do you want to clarify that? Or?
Yes. That would basically, it would not come to the committee. That would be strictly the office that sees, okay, this person has been suspended, therefore they do not qualify. A name would not be released to the committee at all. Or to the foundation board.
And if they were suspended and they did their suspension or whatever, then they're back in good standings.
No,
not if it says 3 years.
What's I'm saying? You're holding them for something for 3 years when they're back in good standings.
Then Mr. Collins, vote against it.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Okay, the motion before you is to amend the Sun City Foundation Board Policy 1 as stated. Secretary Lineski, will you please take the roll call vote?
Director Wilson.
Yes.
Director Collins.
No.
Director Fimmel.
Yes.
Is that yes?
Yes.
Okay. Director McAdam.
Yes.
Treasurer Akins.
Yes.
Vice President Ady.
Yes.
Director Milkowski.
No.
I vote yes. President Lair.
Yes.
Vote is 7-2 in favor.
With 7 in favor, to oppose, the motion passes its first reading. Next item of new business is a motion by Director Wilson to amend Board Policy Number 10. Director Wilson.
Yes, this is on just changing some wording, so in taking out the word nor on number 1 for each of the pickleball, racquetball, table tennis, and tennis, and changing the statement to read, food or beverages of any kind are not allowed.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Second by Vice President Eggy. Okay, Director Wilson, as maker of the motion, do you wish to speak first in its?
Yes,
Yeah.
actually, we had a gentleman come up to us at the last board meeting and asked about that and said that that language was unclear to them. This basically says the same thing, it just makes it a little more clear.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any further discussion? Director McAdam.
So I appreciate the fact that this could be better written, but what I actually want to address is the content of this. As you all know, and this won't surprise you, I'm an avid court player, and to say that within the court enclosures, my understanding is, for instance, on pickleball courts, within the fences that are surrounding the court area, you're not allowed to have any kind of beverage, including water. That's a bad decision. When tournaments take place and people have their water bottles at the side of the court because it's really important for them to stay hydrated, and if they can call a timeout, but the timeout is limited to something like 30 seconds. There's not time to go running out and getting a water bottle and hydrating and coming back into the court in order to be able to play. So I think that we need to make an exception for water here. We live in a dry desert climate, and telling people that they're supposed to play sports without having water close by in order to hydrate, I'm sorry, I think that flies in the face of all good judgment.
Okay. So are you wanting to make an amendment after you've made that statement? Are you wishing to amend the motion?
So I'm just explaining why I would vote against this. If
Okay,
somebody else
so
wants
would you
to-
like to make a motion or not?
Sure.
Okay. So can you?
So let's change this with the exception of water, comma, food and beverages of any kind are not allowed within the court enclosures.
So you're adding the phrase with the exception of water?
With the exception of water.
Okay, then everything else stays the same. Correct?
I would change the or to and is what I read. So with the exception of water, food and beverages of any kind are not allowed within the court enclosures.
And that's the same for all of them. Okay, is there a second to the motion to amend?
I'll second.
Second by Director Collins. Discussion on the motion to amend. It's been, the motion has been made to insert at the start of this, with the exception of water, food and beverages of any kind are not allowed within the court enclosures for all. Discussion. There being no discussion.
General Manager.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Madam President, Board of Directors, so part of the purpose of this is also a safety concern. So if you are in a racquetball court, quite honestly, I don't believe that you can put water or any type of container within the court without interrupting the play. However, if there is water and the two players decide that they want to put it in the corner, what have you, and water is spilled and the next person comes in, there could be a safety issue with respect to having water in the playing area. Maybe tennis and pickleball maybe are an exception because the playing surface is a little different, but racquetball is it's a lacquered surface, and the water does not soak in, nor does it evaporate very quickly. So I would suggest that in those types of areas that we do not allow water.
Okay. So what we have, Secretary Lanevsky.
I have a question for General Manager. General Manager Cook, at Marinette, I'm just talking about those. I've played those, so I'm asking for clarification. There's actually playing surfaces inside at Marinette. And outside of them, outside of the fenced area, there's a large area where people put water bottles and things like that. Is this going to exclude that area, or is it just actually the surface of the actual playing area?
Madam President, Director Lanevsky, I believe the wording states playing area. So any of the waiting areas or viewing areas would not be included in this.
It says within court enclosures, so I'm asking for the definition of within court enclosures.
That's the playing area. Okay, I have a question for Director McAdam, if I may. How long is an average pickleball game? One game?
Well, average is a good question to ask. A pickleball game can be over in less than 5 minutes, but it can also go for half an hour.
Okay, so 5 minutes to a half an hour. Okay, thank you. Any other questions or discussions? Okay, so what we have right now is we have a motion to amend the original motion to add, with the exception of water, food, and beverages of any kind are not allowed within court enclosures. Currently, it includes all of these areas. If we want to choose to remove, we're going to have to make another motion to amend, but right now we're just doing this one. Secretary Lanevsky, will you please take the roll call vote?
Director McAdam.
Yes.
Treasurer Akins.
Yes.
Vice President Agi.
Yes.
Director Nowakowski.
Yes.
Director Wilson.
Yes.
Director Collins.
Yes.
Director Fimmel.
Yes.
I vote yes. President Lair.
Yes.
It's 9-0.
Okay,
Affirmative.
so the motion to amend has passed. Now, is there a motion to amend to remove racquetball and handball?
That's what I would do is, I agree with our general manager that
Just make the motion.
I move to remove the wording of, with the exception of water, for racquetball and handball only.
Is there a second to that? Seconded by Director Collins.
Hold on.
Okay.
Madam President, Board of Directors, if I could add table tennis to that as well. I believe that should not be an issue, and I believe that flooring as well could be a hazard. Tennis and pickleball probably, we wouldn't have any issues with that, so thank you.
Okay.
I have no problem amending my motion to that.
Director Collins, would you? Okay, so we have a motion to amend Board Policy 10, which we have just amended. Yeah, with the exception of water is removed for racquetball and table tennis. I hope I have that clear. Is that clear for everyone? Is there discussion? Director McAdam.
I'm very concerned about applying that to table tennis because that seems to me that it would include, perhaps General Manager Cook can respond to this, it includes the entire enclosed area. There are not court areas that are individual to the individual table tennis areas. It would be the entire room. You would not be allowed to take any beverages in there.
Madam President, Director McAdam, actually the rule for table tennis does specify playing areas. The others do not. So the playing areas are the areas where obviously within the boundaries of where the returns and serves are done. In that enclosure, that does not include the enclosure. So there's tables that are set up for the table tennis players. They could have their water on the tables and they would walk away. I mean, it's within 10 steps of the playing area. So that would not be an issue. So playing areas is defined here, and I think that's sufficient.
Okay, well, if I could just, can I respond to that, Madam President? So, I mean, words, you say that plain areas is defined here. I don't believe that it is. It's just stated. And words have meanings, and the words that we use are important. It seems to me as though we actually need to define that, because I don't understand why somebody couldn't say, well, this whole place is a playing area. And if somebody really smashes a table tennis ball, it can go almost anywhere in that room. So, yeah, I would appeal to that sense and say that if that's what we really mean, we need to actually state that and use the tools that we have, which are words, to describe what playing areas are.
For every?
For table tennis. So that's the only place where we use the playing areas. But it seems to me that we're just opening ourselves up for a lot of arguments and contention if we're not more careful about defining what we mean by playing areas.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further discussion? Okay, so there's been an amendment to change the board policy 10, remove with the exception of water from table tennis. It's been seconded by,
Racquetball, handball, and
racquetball and table tennis. Racquetball, handball, table tennis. It's been seconded by Director Collins. Director Nowakowski, will you please take the roll call vote?
You want to take it?
No, I'm happy to. Go ahead.
Director Nowakowski.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
It's been a long day.
Secretary Lanowski's taking it. Director Nowakowski.
Yes.
Director Wilson.
Yes.
Vice President Agi.
Yes.
Treasurer Akins.
Yes.
Director Collins.
Yes.
Director Fimmel.
Yes.
Director McAdam.
No.
I vote yes. President Lair.
Yes.
The vote is 8-1 in the affirmative.
Okay, motion passes 8-1. All right. Next item of business is a motion by Secretary.
Madam President, weren't we just voting on amendment?
Oh, yes, we were. Yes, we were. You're
Now
right.
we got to vote on the motion, please.
Okay, so we're back to the original motion as amended. Secretary Laneski, would you please take the roll call vote?
Director Wilson.
Yes.
Vice President Agi.
Yes.
Treasurer Akins.
Yes.
Director Collins.
Yes.
Director Fimmel.
Yes.
Director McAdam.
Yes.
Director Nowakowski.
Yes.
I vote yes. President Lair.
Yes. 9 in favor, none opposed. Motion is adopted, first reading. Next item of new business is a motion by Secretary Lanevsky to approve $3,000 to be paid to the posse for their continued assistance with event parking and period.
I move to approve $3,000 to be paid to the Sun City Posse for their continued assistance with event parking in 2023.
Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Kat Fimmel. Director Fimmel. Okay. Secretary Lanevsky as maker of the motion.
I think it's self-explanatory.
Okay, discussion? Director McAdam.
I would like to amend this to approve a $4,000 payment to the Sun City Posse, considering the fact that a lot of their costs are associated with vehicles and fleets and gasoline prices, and considering the remarkable increase in prices for those, I think it would be appropriate for us to increase the amount to $4,000.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. Seconded by Director Collins. All right. There's been a motion to amend the original motion to increase the amount to $4,000. The motion made by Director McAdams, seconded by Director Collins. Is there any discussion? Director Collins.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, we have had difficulties in the past with the posse. This would be like an olive branch, trying to get some of our differences smoothed over. They do a lot of work, and we all know it. And a lot of times, I think we don't acknowledge them as much as we should. So this would kind of just be an olive branch saying, let's get back together and let's work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, there is a motion to amend to increase the amount that we give to the posse to $4,000. So the motion before you is to approve $4,000 to be paid to the posse for their continued assistance with event parking and event parking in 2023. Secretary Lineski, will you take the roll call vote?
Vice President Agi.
Yes.
Treasurer Akins.
Yes.
Director Collins.
Yes.
Director Fimmel.
Yes.
Director McAdam.
Yes.
Director Noakowski.
Yes.
Director Wilson.
No.
I vote no. President Lair.
No.
The vote passes 6-3.
Okay, so now we're going to vote on the motion. The amendment has been approved. The motion before you is to approve $4,000 to be paid to the posse for their continued assistance with event parking in 2023. Secretary Lineski.
Treasurer Akins.
Yes.
Director Collins.
Yes.
Director Fimmel.
Yes.
Director McAdam.
Yes.
Director Noakowski.
Yes.
Director Wilson.
No.
I'll vote yes. President Lair.
Yes.
And I forgot Vice President Agi.
Yes.
It's 8-1.
8-1, the motion is passed its first reading. Okay, ooh, long meeting, people. There's no other business here. Directors, do you have any committee or liaison reports, announcements? Director Collins.
Yes, thank you. This year has been especially tough for some of our people with inflation and everything else. And I just wanted everybody to know that the Vintage Car Club is doing a food gathering, donations. You can take them to the car club, or you can call the car club and someone will come to your house and pick them up. The deadline is December 3rd. December 3rd from 2 to 5 is when they're doing the food drive. You can call them at 602-609-0973, and there'll also be a car show there. So you can stop by the Sun Bowl and drop it off, or you can call them and they'll have someone come get it, or you can drop it at the car club.
Okay.
Please, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
I think Director Wilson had her hand up first.
It is now time again for Santa for Seniors through the foundation. There are trees that are up in Bell Rec Center as well as Fairway Rec Center. You take a card, you buy a gift card, and you bring it to the corporate office. It is done December 9th.
They can turn them in at Fairway and Bell also.
You can turn them also in at Fairway and Bell. Thank you.
Okay. Director Noakowski.
Thank you. The Sun City Community Access Network postponed their food drive from November till January. So they're going to be doing it in January. I'll have all the details for everyone in the December meeting for the dates. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements on the board? Okay, the next member board exchange is on December 5th at 9 a.m. Sundial Auditorium. The next meeting of the Board of Directors will be on December 15th, 9 a.m. in the Sundial Auditorium. If you turned your phones to silent or turned them off, go ahead and you can turn them back on. There being no further business and without objection, this meeting is adjourned.
This is a copy written production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.